The French Revolution. The French Revolution, 1789 to 1799, was a period of radical social and political upheaval in France that profoundly impacted French society and the course of Western history. It led to the rise of modern democracy, the spread of secular ideas, and significant reforms in social and political structures. Here's a brief overview of key aspects. Causes of the revolution: economic hardships and debt. France was heavily in debt by the late 1780s, largely due to involvement in costly wars like the 7 Years' War and financial support for the American Revolution. Lavish spending by King Louis XVI and his court at Versailles added to the financial strain. To address the mounting debt, the monarchy proposed new taxes. But this was met with resistance, especially from the nobility, who were generally exempt from paying taxes. Social inequality and class division. The Three Estates. French society was organized into 3 estates or social classes. The first estate, clergy, and the second estate, nobility, held significant privileges and paid minimal taxes. Meanwhile, the third estate, comprising everyone else, including peasants, urban workers, and the bourgeoisie, middle class, bore the tax burden, despite being the least economically advantaged group. Resentment among the third estate. The third estate had no political power in the traditional voting system, where each estate had only 1 vote. This meant that the clergy and nobility, making up only a small fraction of the population, could outvote the third estate, fueling anger and a sense of injustice. Enlightenment ideas. The Enlightenment, a period of intellectual and philosophical growth, introduced revolutionary ideas on governance and individual rights. Thinkers like Rousseau argued for popular sovereignty, rule by the people, and Montesquieu promoted the separation of powers. These ideas inspired the French people to question the absolute rule of the monarchy and to demand a society based on equality, liberty, and fraternity. Key events of the French Revolution. The Estates General and the formation of the National Assembly, 1789. With France on the verge of financial collapse, Louis XVI convened the Estates General, a general assembly representing the 3 estates, to discuss tax reforms. This was the first time it had been called since 1614, underscoring the urgency of the crisis. The Third Estate, denied equitable representation, broke away and declared itself the National Assembly, vowing to represent the French people. This event marked the beginning of the revolution as the Third Estate sought to establish a new, more democratic government structure. The Tennis Court Oath, June 20, 1789. After being locked out of their usual meeting place, members of the National Assembly met on a nearby tennis court and took an oath not to disband until a new constitution was established. The Tennis Court Oath was a significant step toward the establishment of a constitutional government and a symbolic defiance of royal authority. Storming of the Bastille, July 14, 1789. The Bastille, a medieval fortress and prison in Paris, was a symbol of royal tyranny. On July 14, 1789, a mob stormed the Bastille, seeking gunpowder and arms to defend the newly formed National Assembly. The fall of the Bastille became a powerful symbol of the revolution, and July 14th is celebrated as Bastille Day in France to this day. The Great Fear, summer 1789. In response to rumors that nobles were hoarding grain, or planning to suppress the revolution by force, peasants in the countryside revolted, attacking manor houses and destroying records of feudal obligations. This period, known as the Great Fear, further weakened the influence of the nobility and intensified calls for reform. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, August 1789. Drafted by the National Assembly, this document laid out revolutionary ideals and is considered one of the founding texts of modern democracy. It declared that men are born and remain free and equal in rights, and introduced concepts like freedom of speech, the right to property, and freedom from arbitrary arrest. The Reign of Terror, 1793 to 1794. The revolution took a radical turn with the rise of the Jacobins, a revolutionary faction led by Maximilien Robespierre. To defend the revolution from internal and external threats, the Committee of Public Safety initiated the Reign of Terror, during which thousands of people, including former revolutionaries, were executed by guillotine. This period instilled fear and suspicion and led to Robespierre's eventual downfall and execution. The rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, 1799. The revolution ended when Napoleon Bonaparte, a military general, seized power in a coup d'état, establishing the consulate and later declaring himself emperor. His rule brought stability to France and spread revolutionary ideals across Europe through his military campaigns, although it also marked the return of centralized power. Significant figures of the revolution: King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette. King Louis XVI and his wife, Queen Marie Antoinette, became symbols of the monarchy's excess and detachment from the common people. Their executions in 1793 symbolized the collapse of absolute monarchy. Maximilien Robespierre. Once a leading advocate for democracy and social reform, Robespierre became synonymous with the Reign of Terror. His belief that terror was necessary to protect the revolution ultimately led to his own downfall. Jean-Paul Marat. A radical journalist, Marat used his publications to criticize counter-revolutionaries and incite public outrage. He became a martyr of the revolution after his assassination. Napoleon Bonaparte. Emerging from the chaos of the revolution, Napoleon rose to power and stabilized France, spreading many revolutionary reforms throughout Europe, such as the Napoleonic Code, which influenced legal systems worldwide. Impact and legacy of the French Revolution. Political and social reforms. Abolition of feudalism. Feudal privileges were abolished, and the revolution ended the traditional class distinctions, pushing France toward a meritocratic society. End of absolute monarchy. The revolution marked the end of absolute monarchy in France and introduced the concept of a republic based on democratic principles. Secularization. The Church lost much of its power and influence, and France moved towards secular governance, a major shift that had lasting cultural and political effects. Women's rights. Although women did not gain voting rights, the revolution sparked discussions on women's rights and social equality, inspiring feminist movements in later years. Global influence and inspiration. The revolution served as an inspiration for democratic and independence movements worldwide. Ideas from the revolution, such as human rights, civil liberties, and constitutional government, influenced events like the Haitian Revolution and later revolutions in Latin America and Europe. The Napoleonic Code. Under Napoleon, France established a set of civil laws that became known as the Napoleonic Code. This legal framework emphasized equality before the law, property rights, and the secularization of legal institutions, leaving a lasting impact on European and global legal systems. Conclusion. The French Revolution changed not only France but the entire world. It introduced the ideals of liberty, equality, and fraternity, which became the foundation of modern democratic societies. Its impact reverberated through the centuries, affecting political, social, and cultural developments around the globe. Today, the revolution is remembered as a pivotal moment in history, one that questioned and ultimately reshaped the nature of power, authority, and the rights of the individual.